My name is Paisley Hernandez, and at 34, I've worked my way up to becoming a marketing executive, a role I wear with pride. It's a reflection of my dedication and ambition. From the outside, my life might seem flawless, but perfection is often just an illusion. Lately, my marriage to Nathan has become complicated. His actions have sparked doubts in me, doubts I never imagined feeling. It started slowly, almost imperceptibly, a creeping sense of unease. Nathan, who had always been punctual, began coming home late more often. "Work's stressful," he'd say. It sounded like an easy excuse, but I know corporate life, its unspoken truths, hidden pressures. His reasons felt flimsy, like hastily constructed stories that unraveled more with each passing day. Then came the quiet phone calls, his voice lowered, as though he was hiding something. When I confronted him, he acted confused, pretending not to understand my suspicions. His performance was so convincing, it almost felt like an insult. One evening, I overheard a sliver of a conversation. "Susan, the plan. Paisley won't know." Susan, Nathan's sister, a woman whose sharp eyes and sharper tongue always put me on edge. Were they conspiring against me? My heart raced with a mix of anger and fear, but fear isn't my way. I confront challenges head-on, so I masked my concerns with a practiced facade of ignorance. When Nathan was around, I asked innocent-sounding questions, feigning curiosity. He mentioned trips I hadn't heard of. I played along. Inside, I was putting the puzzle pieces together, terrified of what the final picture would reveal. Our story wasn't always like this. We met at a company event. His charm matched my drive. We fell fast and hard, dinners, walks under the stars, and eventually, a home of our own. But as my career soared, his seemed to stall. Something inside him shifted. The man I once loved turned into a stranger, a hollow version of himself. His admiration twisted into something else, resentment. Maybe, I saw it in his eyes, even when he tried to hide it. Then, there was Susan. From the first time we met, I felt her coldness, a calculating air beneath her polite exterior. When Nathan and I got engaged, her congratulations felt forced, like she couldn't believe her brother chose someone like me. The night she showed up unannounced asking for $6,000 was the moment everything began to unravel. "It's urgent," she said, her tone casual, entitled, as though we owed it to her simply because we were family. I agreed, but on my terms. She had to sign a legally binding note. Her irritation was obvious, but she agreed. That night opened my eyes to the toxic dynamic between Nathan and Susan, a mix of manipulation and dependence. They had been playing this game for a long time, making up the rules as they went. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into work, using it as an escape. Nathan's behavior became more erratic, his mood swinging from distant to angry. I felt like I was walking a tightrope. But I wasn't about to back down. If Nathan and Susan were playing dirty, I knew how to strategize. In marketing, planning and foresight are everything, and I was about to apply those skills to a whole new kind of campaign. Life, I've learned, is like a chess game. Every move counts. Sometimes, you have to sacrifice a piece to win. Sitting at my desk, the city lights twinkling below, I realized my game was nearing its climax. The turning point came on a Thursday evening, a night that promised peace but delivered chaos. Nathan had been distant. That night, I logged into our joint bank account to pay some bills, a routine task that turned into a gut-wrenching shock. There, in black and white, $999,000 withdrawn. Money I saved during my single years. Money I hoped to use for our future, a future that now felt like a lie. The confrontation was brutal. Nathan was caught off guard, stammering between defensiveness and guilt. His excuses were weak, his justifications, weaker. This wasn't a mistake, it was deliberate. And I knew Susan was behind it. That night, I didn't sleep. The man I once loved had become a stranger. His actions spoke louder than any words. He had declared war. And in war, there are no rules. The next morning, I made 2 calls. One to a divorce attorney, known for her no-nonsense approach. The other to a private investigator. If Nathan and Susan wanted to play dirty, I needed to arm myself. The days that followed felt like a battlefield. Tension filled the air, heavy, unspoken. Nathan's late-night calls with Susan became more frequent. Their plans, whatever they were accelerating. Then came an unexpected ally, Bo, Susan's husband. He called me out of the blue, his voice tense and confused. "Is Susan there?" he asked. Just like that, the floodgates opened. He noticed the same things I had, the secrecy, the sudden need for money. We quickly realized our spouses weren't just siblings, they were partners in a scheme. Together, Bo and I devised a plan, driven by a need for justice and a thirst for revenge. If Nathan and Susan wanted a game, we'd give them one they'd never forget. They were arrogant, but they missed one crucial thing: the resilience of the people they thought they could manipulate. Bo, quiet and patient, had endured Susan's manipulations for years. His story mirrored mine. Love turned to betrayal. We formed an alliance, not just of circumstance, but of shared understanding. We discovered they were planning a luxurious trip, funded by our stolen money. The idea of them enjoying paradise at our expense fueled our determination. Our plan was simple but daring. We'd let them go, but with a twist. They'd find themselves stranded, their resources cut off, far from home. I swapped Nathan's credit card for an expired gym membership, one he wouldn't notice until it was too late. Bo and I made sure their travel funds were frozen the moment they landed. They'd feel powerless, the way they made us feel. The game was on. As the day of their departure drew closer, I watched Nathan pack his bags, pretending not to care. He was bubbling with excitement, completely oblivious to the storm brewing in our lives. "You'll miss me, won't you?" he asked, his grin wide and confident. "More than you know," I responded, my words laced with sarcasm, but he didn't pick up on it. When the day finally arrived and they left, a strange sense of freedom washed over me, mixed with a twinge of nervousness. Part of me wanted to confront Nathan, to let out all the frustration I had held back, but I knew that silence was more powerful than any words I could throw at him. Bo and I kept each other updated, watching from the sidelines as their plans started to unravel. As expected, trouble surfaced right away. Nathan's desperate calls, filled with frustration and confusion, were music to my ears. "The card's not working," he shouted in panic, his calm facade cracking. Feigning surprise, I responded, "That's odd. Maybe you should call your bank," making sure my concern sounded genuine, though I was far from it. Days passed, and Nathan and Susan's situation worsened. Stranded with no access to their funds, they were exposed. The tables had turned, and now they were the ones feeling vulnerable, watching their downfall. I couldn't ignore the bittersweet truth: this marked the end of my marriage, no matter how toxic it had become. Even though I felt a sense of satisfaction seeing their plan fail, it was still a loss. I received occasional updates from Bo, who remained stoic even as his own life unraveled. Our strategy had worked better than we had hoped. With no way to access their stolen money, they were left scrambling for solutions. Nathan's calls grew more frantic. "Paisley, you have to help us. This isn't funny anymore." His voice, once warm and loving, now held an edge of anger I knew all too well. But I remained unmoved. "I'm sorry, Nathan, but I can't help you," I said, my tone steady and unwavering. His shock was evident even through the phone. For the first time, I wasn't giving in. Meanwhile, Susan's perfect image, the loyal sister and devoted wife, crumbled. Bo kept me informed, telling me how her manipulative side was showing, revealing a more sinister version of herself. As the days wore on, Nathan and Susan's situation grew dire. With no other choice, they had to rely on the goodwill of others, humbling for two people who had always looked down on everyone else. The day they were set to return, I felt relief, though I knew this was only the beginning. As I awaited Nathan's arrival, I mentally prepared myself for the inevitable confrontation. When Nathan walked through the door, his usual arrogance was gone, replaced by an air of defeat. He looked at me, searching for the wife he thought he knew, but I was no longer that person. "Paisley, he started, his voice faltering. I cut him off, my voice firm and resolute. "Save it, Nathan, I know everything." The silence that followed was thick with unspoken truths, and in that moment, I realized I was no longer bound by this marriage. It was over. I was free. The aftermath of their failed trip became a period of reckoning. The house, once filled with laughter, now felt cold, filled only with the bitter truth of betrayal. Nathan's return marked the start of a series of confrontations, each one more intense than the last. Our talks, once about shared dreams, now felt like battles where words became weapons. But beneath all the pain and anger, I felt something else: freedom. My meetings with the divorce attorney became my new normal. Each session was a step closer to freeing myself from the marriage that had become toxic. The attorney, sharp and determined, guided me through the process. Meanwhile, Bo also filed for divorce from Susan, and what had started as an alliance of convenience transformed into a genuine friendship. We supported each other, sharing our experiences and beginning the healing process. As the divorce progressed, the full extent of Nathan and Susan's deceit came to light. Bank records, financial statements, and the private investigator's findings painted a clear picture of their betrayal. It wasn't easy to accept, but it only strengthened my resolve. The day the divorce was finalized, I walked out of the courtroom as Paisley Hernandez, independent, stronger, and free. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into my career. My hard work did not go unnoticed, and soon, I received a promotion, a recognition of my resilience. Life after the divorce became a journey of rediscovery. The world, once defined by my marriage to Nathan, was now full of endless possibilities. I began to find joy in simple things: a quiet night with a book, a coffee with Bo, who had become a close friend and support system. One evening, standing on my balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in beautiful hues, I realized this wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter one was in control of. The end of my marriage had closed a difficult chapter, but it had also opened the door to a future brimming with potential. In the months after the divorce, I found myself evolving, shedding the weight of the past. My promotion wasn't just a professional achievement, it was a sign of how far I had come. Bo, too, began his own journey of healing. Our shared experiences created a bond that grew stronger with time. Our regular coffee meetups became more than just a way to talk about the past. They became a source of comfort, a space for understanding. What began as a friendship gradually transformed into something more. One evening, as we walked by the riverside, the city lights reflecting off the water, Bo turned to me, his voice filled with nervousness and sincerity. "Paisley," he said, "these months with you have been a journey I never expected, but I'm grateful for every moment. You've become so much more than a friend to me." His words echoed the feelings I had kept hidden in my heart. "Bo," I replied, taking his hand, "I feel the same. You've been my strength, my joy in the darkest times. I can't imagine my life without you." As we stood there, hand in hand, the world around us seemed to fade away. In that moment, there was only us, two souls who had found peace and strength in one another. Life, I realized, was an unpredictable journey, filled with joy, pain, love, and loss. It was these very experiences that shaped the masterpiece of life. Looking ahead, I saw a future filled with hope and new possibilities, a future where I was defined by the choices I made and the person I had become. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was ready to face it, with Bo by my side. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay amazed.